Hey guys, who we got? Kevin, Wison, Shelley, Ginger, Scott, Al, Lisa. Oh my goodness, I see everybody. There's Chad, Paul, Affordable Frags. There's Chad Clayton, the man of the hour. Jolene, Andrea, glad you're here. Yes, Chad Clayton is in the house. He is. Hi, Andrew. Glad you can make it, Elaine. Glad to see you guys all here, Tracy. I just want to say right quick before I bring Chad on, I want to thank you guys so much for all the invites. Keep them coming. We are over, there's Herbert. We are over 1,500. We're on the downhill slide to our 2K. We need to get there by August 1st, guys. So please, please, please send out those invites. There's going to be an awesome giveaway. I've had several people step up. Affordable Frags, Dinkins Aquatics, K&P Aquatics. Let's see, who else? I just lost my train of thought. Look on the promo page that Brian, hey, how are you? Look on the promo that he dropped, that Chad Walton dropped on there, and absolutely check out that giveaway. Quantum, thank you. I just went brain dead. I didn't have it wrote down in my notes or anything, so I'm just kind of winging that part. But anyway, I want Willow's Reef. That's right. Thank you. I'm so glad to see all you guys here right now. It's been we've been waiting for the guest, and let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Adding. Let's see if we got this worked out. Maybe. Says joining.
Hey there.
There he is, the man of the hour. How are you doing today?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. Hi, Tyann. I'm actually having an absolutely phenomenal day. We just found out that our kids' after-school care program is going to be free for the whole school year, which is going to save us like thousands of dollars. And so I'm
Awesome.
so stoked. You caught me at like an incredible
not
high
to
in
mention,
my life right now. So yeah,
I think your birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
Yep, my birthday's tomorrow.
So you're going to have a couple of really fantastic days then.
Yeah, thank you. Tell me about it. I got some champagne, and me and my wife are going to celebrate. I was in tears today because the savings is just immense. So we're thrilled. And then I get this message that Jamie Craggs, who's spawning corals in captivity out at the Horniman Museum in the UK, has been using our TDO as one of the main feeds for some of the corals. And he posted a before and after picture on the coral spawning lab.
That is awesome. Now,
So
I set my bag right there, phenomenal. And it's the big bag. I am going to have to order some more. Believe it or not, I'm almost out. So I've got to order some more, but I will say, just the regular fish, everything I've got in this tank, the cream angel, the scopus tang, the goby, I mean, everything, and clowns too, everything in there eats it like it is candy. So it's not just for clowns anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's phenomenal. The uses for TDO, the versatility is just incredible. I mean, people started using it that are breeding fish, and now they're feeding it to freshwater fish. Breeders are using it for cichlids and tetras and plecostomus and all these other freshwater fish. They're using it on axolotls and poison dart frogs, stingrays, garden eels. I mean, and corals. It's just like, It's like the superfood, and a lot of people in aquaculture call it the gold standard of weaning diets and dry feeds.
It
So
does. It really does.
I don't
I
need to
sent
really
you that
talk about
video,
it. It
that
does,
real
it speaks
close-up
for
video,
itself.
didn't
So
I, of the
yeah.
pods eating it? Every one of them had a piece of it. And I was like, oh my God, the pods just love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, and I know people that the bag has gone bad, and they've tilled it into their soil in their gardens, and it fertilizes their gardens. So it's just like, I mean, the uses are endless. I know. Yeah, I even know somebody who fed it to their chickens, and the eggs, the yolk of the egg was
Really?
deep red because of that carotenoid astaxanthin,
That's
and so it made
crazy.
the
Oh
yolks
my
red. I
gosh.
was like, what?
That is nuts. I know. I love it. I've, like I said, I've got to order some more of
Yeah.
the extra small and the small. Everything I've got loves it. And like you said, for the breeding pairs, for the eggs, those that are laying, man, if you want the brightest, most productive eggs from clownfish, feed them TDO. Every time I see a post, you know, all my clownfish laid eggs, you know,
Yeah.
and this one, bless his heart, they just looked almost bleached out. You know, they just didn't look good, you know. And I said, hey, I'll tell you something. If you try TDO. So, but now he was in Canada. So how's it on getting it there? Any better, worse, hopefully?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a headache right now. It's the Canadian government is hung up on one of the ingredients, and it's just ridiculous. And so this has like been year after year, but we're really close. We worked with the manufacturer, so we buy the food from Japan, and we alter it with that red carotenoid astaxanthin. We top dress it with that, so that gives you that good, you know, pigmentation enhancement. It also acts as an antioxidant, and it's a precursor to vitamin synthesis. So adding that to the food made it incredibly
Right,
better. TDO
right.
means top dressed otohime. Otohime is the food we buy from Japan. So the Japanese company that makes it, they're working with us
Awesome. Now
to
I've
get
seen
into
some people,
compliance
a
with
couple of people
places like
ask,
Canada.
what are we talking about? I got here late. So I want to show you what it is. This is a big bag of TDO. It comes in various sizes. It's put out by Reef Nutrition, Reed Mariculture. This is the extra small size. I will show you. Hopefully I can show you without dumping it everywhere. The actual grain size of it. Most everything I got loves it. Absolutely. Well, I say everything I've got loves it. And if you're breeding clownfish, that's a must-have right there. Absolute must-have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I got some proof is in the pudding here, so to speak. So see that fish on the left? That fish on the left was fed a diet that was lacking carotenoids, was lacking that pigmentation enhancer, and it was fed TDO. And after a couple of weeks, look at that
That's
wild type
daylight to
coloration
dark
from
right
this
there.
to that. I know, and it basically is resulting in wild type coloration. Because see, here's a clownfish on the reef. Look at that pigmentation. Then here's one that's fed a diet that's poor, and then here's the TDO Otohime dry food. Boom. So I mean, it just doesn't compare. And then I've even got some videos of people feeding it to coral. So here's a video.
While you're starting that, it says,
I
someone
don't know why it's
asked, is
not
this a
starting.
food used as a diet or an
Yeah.
additive to our regular regime?
So yeah, so a lot of people have added it to their regular dietary regime for their animals. So it's, you know, dry foods are very easy to use. They can be very nutrient dense. And turns out that TDO has good integrity. It doesn't dissolve. It doesn't break up. It doesn't pollute the system rapidly. It's what a lot of people love about it, is it can maintain its, you know, its composure, so to speak, its integrity. And the nutrient dense factor means you don't have to feed a lot of it at one time, and once a day is perfectly acceptable. And some people will target feed mandarins with it because, you know, biota is using it as a weaning diet. So mandarins coming out of biota, guess what they're eating? TDO. Yeah. And so, and you know, most clownfish breeders are using it. So yeah, it's just this super pellet. And a lot of people are, you know, there are some people that are skeptical of pellets. They really like their frozen foods, or, you know, a lot of people are very, very loyal to those good frozen foods. But once they can incorporate a pelleted food, that means, you know, you've got more options for weekend feedings and vacation feedings and auto feeder. There are a lot of great auto feeder options out there. TDO, we say keep refrigerated, but that's not 100% necessary. I know plenty of people that don't refrigerate it, that use it in an auto feeder, and we have never heard of a negative effect from that kind of thing.
You know,
so that's something that everybody should know.
I had ordered the giant jumbo, family size bag. I don't know what size it was. Huge. And I will say it's past its expiration or best by date, whatever you want to call it. And there is no ill effects from using it, you know. So, you know, it's just good stuff. Now, you talked about live. A lot of people like their live foods and stuff. That's what I want to discuss also is your rotifers. You have L-type and S-type, right? And that stands for large and small, right? And
yes,
now,
quite simply, yeah.
You've got, what else do you have in the live line?
So we grow the 2 species of rotifers, and we're working on a 3rd species that's much smaller than the S rotifer. And what's interesting about this one, and the genus is Coldurella. And what's interesting about this rotifer is we call it a naked rotifer. It lacks a lorica. So there's this rigid structure in the rotifer, in the Brachionis rotifers that are commonly used in aquaculture. And lorica is the Romans used the word lorica for shield. So it's this rigid structure inside the rotifer. This rotifer that we're working with, that we're looking at, lacks that rigid structure, which potentially make it more digestible for smaller larval fish. It also is going to be great for small larval fish, you know, fish that are like, let's say, you know, dwarf angels and some of the very small gobies, and maybe even the large broadcast spawners like angelfish and tangs. You know, it could be incorporated into the diet after that copepod live feed organism. So that's something we're working on right now. And then we also do 3 species of live copepods, and that's primarily why Reed Mariculture brought me in 13 years ago. 13 years ago was to bring my experience with, because I have a lot of experience with live feeds, working in aquaculture, and they were like, you know, we really need you to perfect techniques in Tigriopus, the Tigripods aquaculture, and then work on new species. So we have the Tigriopus californicus, which are the Tigripods everybody's familiar with. We have the apex pods, which are Apocyclops panamensis, and then we have Parvocalanus crassirostris, which is the calanoid copepod. It's a pelagic species that is used by the people that are doing yellow tangs and some of those very tiny larval fish that are way harder to raise, because you have to raise the copepods and you have to offer it the right size copepod. You know, they go through 12 stages of development. So you get that first stage right when they hatch, and that's the only size that those little yellow tang larvae will eat, those little buggers. And so you have to make sure that you got plenty of those stage 1, we call them nauplii, in the tank. And then from there, the yellow tang can eat the larger nauplii and work their way up as the copepod gets bigger. And then they can introduce things like rotifers and weaning diets and frozen foods and things like that. So yeah, the copepods have basically been important for aquaculture, especially people that are growing fish inland. They don't have the luxury of going to a coastal zone. Like, let's say you live in Hawaii, and, you know, Karen Britton and those people out there, Frank Bench, I know Karen cultures her own copepods, but a lot of people in coastal zones can just go out and tow for zooplankton and just dump copepods into their larval rearing tanks. So now people that don't have access to that, don't have that luxury, can buy single species cultures from places like us. There are other people doing this, you know, research institutes, other companies. And that's just really helped to accelerate aquaculture tremendously. And so, you know, hobbyists have been driving this kind of thing, and people in, you know, private businesses and universities. And so copepods have just been where it's at. The successes you're seeing with new species are a direct result of people that are well trained in copepod aquaculture that have really dedicated their careers to it. And there are so many names out there now that have just helped to, you know, feed this thing with information
That's
and
amazing.
techniques,
Now, you
and
said
a
you've
lot
been
of
at
people share
Reed
these things, which is
for
awesome.
13 years. What did you do before Reed?
Oh my gosh. Well, I call it gypsy aquaculture. So I graduated from Florida Institute of Technology with a degree in aquaculture and a degree in marine biology back in 1997. So that kind of gives you an idea of how old I am. And I got into aquaculture. I really wanted to get into marine ornamental aquaculture. So I did mostly aquatic jobs before I was, you know, got into the jobs I really wanted. So I've worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service in Indiana doing electrofishing, which was phenomenal. I mean, you're shocking up, you know, largemouth bass and paddlefish and sturgeon and all kinds of crazy stuff. We fished the Ohio River and all the lakes and streams in Indiana. It was really neat. And then I did molecular biology on zebrafish. So the little zebra danios that are very popular in the freshwater hobby, the little striped fish. I molecular genetics on those guys. And then I went to ORA for 4 years, and, you know, I've got a lot of breeding under my you know, a lot of feathers in my cap, so to speak. So I was able to raise over 40 species of marine ornamentals, everything from seahorses to dottybacks, cardinals, marine betta, chromis species, and a myriad of clownfish. And then I went to Hawaii. So 2 years before I came to Reed Mariculture, I went out to Hawaii. I was like, you know, they're growing food fish. I was like, this is like the opportunity of a lifetime. I'd never been to Hawaii, sold everything I owned, got the job, moved to the Big Island, lived in Kona, and grew a species of jack, which was basically a food fish. So we had an inland hatchery, and so we had broodstock. They were spawning. We would feed the larval fish copepods, and then we used otohime, which is the TDO base, as our weaning diet. And then we would grow them up at the land-based nursery. Once they were big enough, we would put them in offshore cages, which were submersible. And we would take boats out twice a day to feed those fish out in those cages, you know, because we didn't have to filter the water. We didn't have to have, you know, expensive plumbing and filtration. The ocean did all the filtration for us. And then we would harvest the fish, you know, and we're talking big fish, whole fish that, you know, Japanese restaurants would buy, Whole Foods, and they, you know, you would just eat it sashimi, incredible omega-3 fatty acids. I mean, it was just amazing. So two years of that. And then I met my wife out in Hawaii. She's originally from California. So we moved to California, and I called the Reeds because I had used their products over my career. We had used the Nanochloropsis, the Nano 3600 to feed the rotifers and a lot of the other algae concentrates. So I was totally familiar with that. Went through a barrage of interviews with the family, and they were really adamant. They're like, we want you to retire with us. We do not want you to teach you what we do and then have you take that somewhere else and start your own company. That's awesome. We don't want that. So I'm, you know, I'm actually pretty happy with where I'm at. So, and here I am years later, 3 different copepods I brought into the company. I do all these presentations. I brought in the biosecurity plan to prevent cross-contamination and bringing in contaminants from external sources. And I do the trade shows.
Awesome.
And,
I see that. I like that.
Tech support and all kinds of fun stuff. So I wear many hats, including this one. So yeah, it's kind of like an odyssey in the aquatic world. I also worked at a bookstore, but
someone
yeah,
asked. Let me read that if I remember that question. Someone asked, what is the best copepod to clean up detritus? Is there one in particular?
So detritivore copepods, you know, most of them are detritivores. They're opportunistic, so they'll eat. You know, we primarily feed our copepods phytoplankton because we have a 1.5 million gallon phytoplankton farm. So it's an incredibly good food source for them, and we practically have it on tap. So we primarily culture them with phytoplankton, but they will eat organic waste. They'll eat, you know, pellets. They'll eat flake food. I know somebody that raises their copepods on rat chow, for crying out loud. And so, so, you know, and even the Tigriopus, the nauplii of the Tigriopus, they actually prefer to be in the detritus. They down in there and they eat bacteria, they eat phytoplankton. It really, anything organic that's living down there, they'll eat that. So tigger pods are very good at consuming detritus, but they are not very good at maintaining a population in a reef tank, and this is nothing new. This a lot of people have experienced this, and that's where we came out with Apex pods. Apex pods are smaller than Tigger pods. They reproduce faster, and they have more. Once they're in a tank, they're in there forever, regardless of predators. They'll find their way into every square centimeter of your aquarium. And they will eat detritus, and if you've got diatoms, they'll eat those diatoms. They'll eat dinoflagellates, they'll eat cyano, blue-green algae, things like that. To what extent? Very hard to say. Don't count on them cleaning up your tank, so to speak. But yeah, the Apocyclops panamensis, if that was one pod from us that you wanted to get into a tank,
if this is not a trade secret, what do you keep your salinity at when you're doing your pods?
So we run the salinities a little lower just to save money, because we use synthetic salt. We use BTAC Industries C-Mix salt. It's a company that makes salt here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we keep our salinities around 28 parts per thousand. I don't know the specific gravity conversion of that, but we definitely, 35 parts per thousand is, average is what people do for their aquariums, but we run salinities lower. Not only to save money, but also because the copepods are what we call urihaline, so they can tolerate a wide range of salinities. And so we just use that to our advantage and save a little money and use less salt. So it's BTAC Industries, and their salt is phenomenal. They sell it all over the world to like public aquariums in Asia. There are a lot of people in California that use it because they're in California, so you get good shipping rates, and things like that. So yeah, friends with the owner, Michael Del Preti, and it's just we stand by that salt. I grow all my copepods in it, and it's just year after year we've been producing copepods with no problems on this salt.
You have reef tanks too, right?
So we have an office tank that I maintain. It's mostly fish dominant because I don't really have time to do the corals, and I'm not there on the weekends, and I only spend time on the aquarium at the end of the day, to prevent any contamination. That's our biosecurity plan, is nobody touches the tank except me, and I do it at the end of the day. And so yes, we have a tank that's got some mushroom corals in it. They're pretty much bulletproof. There's Discosoma, but I'm a big fish guy. We've got captive bred fish in our tank. So we've got a Singapore Angel from Poma Labs. We've got 2 marine bettas from Biota, and some pajama cardinals from Sustainable Aquatics, and some clownfish from Robert King. And a yellow tang from Biota. And so, yeah, we've got those guys. But at home, I have a freshwater tank.
Now, I wanted to ask you,
kind of into the
salt that you use for your pods and things, do you also use that in your tank in the office? Awesome. Awesome.
Yep,
that is
use
amazing.
it in the aquarium in the office. Yep.
Yeah, so I was going to see if somebody would drop the website, for us.
Into the chat.
Now, I want to talk to you just a little bit about, I use Rotifer Diet. I love that stuff for the fact that it's freezable, thick as syrup. A little bit goes a long way.
Yep.
So I really like that. Can you explain to me and the others what the difference between the Rotifer Diet that I use and the RotiGrow Omega? What's the big difference between those two?
Okay, so Rotifer Diet, that was basically one of our flagship products, next to like Nano 3600 on our Reed Mariculture, side of our company, our aquaculture side. And so Rotifer Diet and our Nano 3600 are pretty much equivalent. And so Rotifer Diet is predominantly Nanochloropsis algae. And so we decided to come out with other blends that had more enrichment value, because there are people in aquaculture that are raising fish that require a variety of fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids specifically, which promotes good larval fish development. It helps prevent skeletal deformities and early mortality. And so while Rotifer Diet is acceptable for feeding to rotifers and feeding to certain fish, that that are very robust, grow quickly, and you can get them onto other foods. It definitely isn't something that works for, you know, fish outside of clownfish. So it wouldn't be a good food for feeding to rotifers that you're going to feed to like yellow tangs and other food fish species. So
Yeah.
so you know, you've been using it, you're having success, you know, you're raising clownfish, right? And so it's working for you. And I'm sure your clownfish brood stock are well fed, so those larvae are probably really robust, have a really good yolk early on,
They
and
really
once they
do.
start feeding,
Now the
they're,
Rotogrow,
you know,
isn't
they've
there a
probably got a lot of
Rotogrow
good energy in their
Plus?
bodies. So yeah, so along the lines of culturing rotifers, we came out with another product for aquaculture called Rotogrow Plus. And what that product is it's a blend of a couple of species of algae to give you more nutrition variety for the rotifer. And I feed this to the apex pods as well. We also added an enrichment component. So we added more DHA, EPA, ARA. These are the three kind of main omega-3 fatty acids that people in fin fish aquaculture are interested in.
Oh.
And so we took those things and added them to Rotogrow Plus. And we, you know, that we started telling people, you know, look, if you want to culture rotifers and have them come out of the bucket enriched without doing a secondary enrichment, which is a lot of people do this, they'll do what's called a secondary enrichment. So they'll harvest their rotifers, throw them in another bucket, and put like a Celcon in there, a high lipid emulsion, you know, mixture that the rotifers eat. They get super concentrated, they get super enriched, and then they're fed to larval fish. And so Rotogrow Plus helps to kind of eliminate that step with people that know what they need. You know, a lot of people don't even know what they need. We've created these products out of kind of just, you know, kind of throwing things at the wall and saying, here's a blend of algae with some enrichment, try this. And some people are like, wow, you know, our fish had fewer mortalities, they had fewer skeletal deformities, they had better pigmentation. This is working for us, you know. And so that, yeah, Rotogrow Plus is
Okay, so the
like
Rotogrow
a step up
Plus
from rotifer diet.
would be something that you could feed to your pods, correct, as well as your rotifers?
Absolutely, yeah. So Tigriopus and the Tigger pods and the apex pods will both eat that non-viable algae. And that's the other thing is for people that really don't understand this algae is not alive. It's not viable. It's not going through cellular fission. It's not replicating itself, but it is intact. The cells are fully intact. And so when the rotifer eats it, when the copepod eats it, they get all that nutrition from the algae cell as if the algae cell was alive. That's something that's very unique, what we bring to aquaculture and to the hobby that's incredibly unique. And also, as many of you know, it's in liquid suspension. It's not freeze dried. We don't bake it. Yeah. We go out our way to protect the cell integrity. So that's, you know, it's something that's important for people to note. And the reason why we exist as a company is because people don't want to grow. There's people that on a commercial scale don't want to grow phytoplankton to feed to their oysters, to feed to their clams, to feed to their rotifers, to feed to their reef tank. They don't want to deal with it. There's nothing wrong with growing live algae. Plenty of people do it. There's people that love it. They're really good at it. It's rewarding. It's amazing to look at it under the microscope. But for those people that don't want to grow it, they come to us. And, you know, these are people that don't want to grow it. They don't want to spend money on all the space that's required, have personnel to do it. They don't want to deal with the contamination factor. They don't want to have to grow multiple species. And so that's kind of where Reed Mariculture, where we come in. And we've helped to accelerate aquaculture in many ways so that people could focus their capital, their money on the animals and the infrastructure for the animals versus infrastructure to grow an entire warehouse full of algae. You know, and so for one example, our Nano 3600 1 liter bag is the equivalent to 1,000 gallons of live Nanochloropsis phytoplankton at 100 million cells per milliliter. So you're taking 1,000 gallons and you're putting it into a liter bag. And so that's why the stuff looks so thick and concentrated, is because you're going from 100 million cells per cc per milliliter in a live culture to 68 billion cells per milliliter in our product. That's why what we do is highly prized. You know, people, instead of having a 1,000 gallon tank, they can just buy this 1 liter bag, and they can even freeze it for 2 years and into portions and thaw them out when they need them. So when I came to the company, I was blown away by all this. I was like, I thought I'd seen it all. And then I saw these, river algae and buckets full of what looked like clay, because we use, centrifuges to spin to separate the cells from the growing media. And then from there, we resuspend them in our, proprietary blend. And then boom, we freeze it and people buy it.
Now, the rotifer dye, I currently have, but I'm going to order some RotaGrow Plus. The rotifer dye that I currently have, is it acceptable to feed the pods, or no? Does it not have what the pods need?
So, the Apocyclops, the Apex pods, I have fed them nano only, and they've done fine. But in my world, we like to feed our live feed organisms a variety of things. Like when you buy the TDO, there's a variety of things in TDO. There's a variety of things in frozen foods like rods and LRS. There's a huge variety of things in these foods. So we like to provide a variety. And so that's what I like to do, is I like to feed my pods, my live feed organisms, more than just one species of phytoplankton. And so while you can feed them nano, they do better on a blend, especially the Tigriopus, the Tigger pods. Unfortunately, I can't get into the specifics on those guys because it's super proprietary, and we've got a lot of competition out there, people trying to figure it out, and they're pretty sneaky. Some people sneak into our tech support and try to get all the details out of me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you.
Oh my gosh. Now, I seen way back there, someone asked,
but I get it.
Is it possible to take the live, I guess the RotaGrow Plus is what they were referring to. It has the live cells in it. Is it possible to take it and start a culture at home with it, is what they're asking?
Nope. That algae is non-viable. The only product that we sell that you would have a chance at growing would be the PhytoFeast Live.
Gotcha.
And that's the stuff that we sell into the aquarium hobby. That product has a cell viability of about 3 months at refrigerator temperatures. And so if you took the PhytoFeast Live out of the bottle and looked under the microscope, what's interesting is you're not going to see the cells that have motility. So Tetraselmis can move. It has 4 flagella. Isochrysis and Pavlova have flagella, and so they actually have modes of motility. Nanochloropsis has no mode of motility. So what happens is when we harvest these things, they lose those flagella, and so they have no motility. But then when they start replicating themselves, then they grow those things back and they start swimming around. And so the problem with culturing with PhytoFeast Live is that it's 6 different species of phytoplankton. So eventually 1 or 2 are going to win out. It's typically Nanochloropsis and Synechococcus. Sorry for all the big words, everybody, but there's really no other way to say these things. They're green algae. And so those 2 would win out typically, and all it takes is a tiny little amount to get a culture going, because that PhytoFeast is very concentrated like our other products. But I recommend that people go to Carolina Biological Supply. They're a phenomenal company. They sell single species starter cultures, very affordable. And they sell a lot of other things. So Carolina Biological Supply, for those of you that want to get a starter culture going.
I'm writing that down because I'm pretty darn sure I'll forget by the time this is over. I know.
There are already 130 comments. I'm trying to keep up here on my laptop.
They're rolling around here. What's the difference? Someone says, what's the difference between rotifers and, let's say, Tigger pods? There you go, Chad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's a huge difference. Huge difference. So rotifers are like us. They're a ciliate. They don't have molts. They don't have a rigid structure like a copepod would. Copepods are very closely related to shrimp and lobster, crustaceans. They're actually in the phylum arthropods, so they're related to insects. When it comes to the phylum of that taxonomy stuff, rotifers are asexual reproducers when they're happy and healthy, so they clone themselves. A healthy rotifer culture is all females, which is really quite interesting. There's there's no dating and, you know, how you doing and all that stuff, and you know, recording and sexual reproduction.
Hey, us girls are
It's
good
all
at stuff like
females, and they
that. You
just
know,
clone
we're just good.
themselves, and the, you know, life goes on. Um, yeah, yeah. And so this is an interesting comparison. So rotifers, they are asexual reproducers, but they're also what is called parthenogenic. And so they will. What's really crazy about them is when culture conditions or environmental conditions slowly decline, things get worse and worse. What the female will do is she'll produce a male. The males are like a quarter to a third of the size of the female. They have no digestive system. Their sole purpose is to mate with the female, and then they die. See you later. And the female produces what are
Yeah.
called resting eggs. So very similar to a brine shrimp cyst. And so those resting eggs settle to the bottom of a system wherever they're at. Once environmental conditions improve, they hatch. 100 years can go by and this can happen. You know, the rotifer eggs are just in the sediment, in the muck, and then voila, the environmental conditions improve and they hatch. So phenomenal reproductive strategies. And rotifers don't go through life stages. When they're born, they're born small, then they grow and get a little bit bigger, and that's it. Now, copepods, on the other hand, way more complex, way more complicated. They are sexual. So the ones that we work with are sexual reproducers. So it takes a female and a male.
Yeah.
The males actually have these things called claspers. They have these modified antennae with little hooks on them. And they literally, right before the female goes through her final molt, you know, they go through 12 stages of development. They go through one last molt, then they become what is called a terminal adult. And so right before she goes through that, where she's very soft, the male's already clamped on, she molts, and then the male injects the sperm, and then she becomes a rigid, you know, the molt, you know, solidifies. You know, this is just like shrimp and crabs and lobsters and things like that. And she stores the sperm and fertilizes her own eggs. And typically the copepods only need one reproductive mating occurrence, and they can fertilize their own eggs whenever they want. And, you know, until they reach the, you know, the end of their life, and then, you know, that's it. And so that's interesting. And also copepods go through all of these stages of development. They go through what are called naupliar phases. So 6 of those, then they go through metamorphosis and they start to look more like a copepod, you know, an adult copepod. And so I have a picture of that, that I can show you guys real quick here. Let's see here, where's it at?
While you're looking for that, one of our overseas followers asked, do you have any idea when you're going to be able to get this, the TDL1 products to your Australian distributors?
Oh yeah, Australia is another one that we're trying to get into. So I would love, if anybody here knows of any distributors in Australia that are really plugged into the marine aquarium, you know, aquaculture scene, that really know what they're doing when it comes to importation of goods, you know, fish foods, things like that, we would love to talk to you. It's just, there's so many hoops to jump through from one country to another. It is incredible because it's just fish food. You know, you'd think that it was, you know, illegal drugs on many levels. Some countries are just so strict. So yeah, it's, you know, we're working on those things. So yeah, here's the copepod. So on the left is an apex pod female, and you can see the little egg clusters on her urogenital segment and her fine antennae there. And then there's the nauplius. And so that's what the baby copepod looks like. Looks nothing like the adult.
That's crazy.
Gives you an idea of kind of the differences there. So, and I took those images. It's really fun to do photomicroscopy of zooplankton. So.
They're loving it. Absolutely. And I know I've missed a gazillion questions. I try to write them down if I see them. Someone wanted to ask the lifespan of a copepod. Got that one?
Yep, I just saw that. So the Tigriopus, they typically live about 3 months. The females live longer than the males. Males tend to, you know, live hard and die young, kind of thing. And the females just kind of, you know, it's just like with humans. And then the apocyclops, they live, I would say, about a month. the adults, and it's all temperature related. The higher the temperature, the lower the life expectancy.
Yeah.
And then,
So,
rotifers live
what
for like
size
days,
of,
things like that.
if you can divulge the
So yeah.
information, what is there a certain? I mean, do y'all have like 50 acres that you do this on out there, or how big is your facility out there?
It's pretty big. I mean, you can imagine 1.5 million gallons of algae kind of spread out with it. We're in greenhouses,
Oh,
so we have no we have no climate control. We use natural sunlight for photosynthesis and for temperature control in the winter. We're doing this in Silicon Valley, so the weather is very stable compared to, people in like the Midwest and Minnesota and the Northeast, where the weather, you get severe winter. We don't really get that here. Yeah. I jokingly call it algae 51. Kevin,
yeah,
yeah, says area 51, but I call it algae for those of you that know what
right.
I'm talking about. Algae 50. Yeah, because we don't really tell anybody where the farm is. Our Campbell location that we say is our address it's not the real deal. What we do is, I mean, there's maybe a handful of people on the planet that are doing this because it sucks. It's a pain in the butt to grow this much algae and to harvest it and to package it and to sell it and to market it. It sucks. It's one thing to grow live algae in your house, in your basement, in a warehouse. It's a whole
I
other
mean,
thing to do it the way we're doing it. I
the
mean,
amount
you
that you
just can't
guys
even imagine.
do, that's
Um,
crazy. Because I know there is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that use these products because of their ability to produce good items. And so I know the vast amount that, I mean, we might have a little jar sitting in our in our spare room or something, but you're talking volumes.
Yep, 5-gallon buckets of what looks like clay harvested every single day. We harvest nonstop, and one of the reasons why we do that is to prevent the cells from getting too dense in the cultures. It also, when the cells get too dense, they shade the cells that are lower in the water column, which prevents photosynthesis, and so you get cell death. And so constantly harvesting really keeps them, rocking and rolling reproductively, and also it also means that the algae are growing at what we call kind of this log phase growth rate, where they're growing well. They've got the right internal components that are nutritional. There's no shutting down of certain mechanisms. The motor is still winding pretty smoothly, really nice when they're in this log phase growth, we call it. And then we harvest them and basically arrest that development. And then, all that nutrition is just locked in there. So that's something that, we're doing is one, we're constantly harvesting. A lot of people in aquaculture, they're doing small scale phytoplankton culture, are doing what is called batch culture. So you grow a jar till it gets nice and dense, and then you feed it out, boom. And then you go to the next jar, and you got to have many jars to do this. Because, there's one that
Right.
you've just started, then there's one that's kind of just started growing, and then there's one that's, really dense and ready to go. And there's people here I know that are growing algae, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, we're multiple acres. We're well over 30 acres. We're constantly expanding because there are other markets globally that are looking to do what is called recirculating aquaculture systems. So recirculating aquaculture is basically like our home aquariums. Things are recirculating and we're filtering out waste. We're doing water changes. And so there are companies that are looking to do this, like oyster farms. So a lot of oyster farms typically would bring in broodstock to their facility. The broodstock would spawn. They would raise the oysters until they're ready to start setting on surfaces, and then they would toss them out into their coastal zone, and those oysters would grow on natural phytoplankton that's just in that area. And now, because of environmental issues with coastal zones, toxicity problems, the wrong phytoplankton growing at the wrong time of year, warm temperatures, seasonal issues, a lot of people are going to more control. So they're going to systems where they can control these things, spawn the oysters, hatch the oysters, feed the larvae at high density till they start forming that shell, have them set on surfaces, feed them, just keep feeding them phytoplankton until they get big enough, and then boom, they're off to market. And you get that, oyster on a
Wow.
half shell at the restaurant.
Now
If it's
that's a
farm
huge
raised,
operation. Like you said,
phenomenal.
there's 30 plus acres there. How many people does it take to harvest or to work at this facility? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, so there's a little over 20 of us, and I would say there are 10 of us that are involved in the actual production of the zooplankton and the phytoplankton. It takes about 10 of us. There are roughly 5 people, or sorry, there's 2 people that are primarily working with the phytoplankton, and they're testing it, monitoring. Oh, sorry, there's 3 people. No, wait, no, 4. I'm sorry. There are 4 people that are involved with harvesting, growing, quality control, water quality testing, maintenance, those kinds of things. There are four of us that do those. That's their full-time job. We've got guys also that have been with us since the late 90s. This has been their whole life, has been this job. And we actually have employees from Mexico, which is awesome. My Spanish has gotten much better. I speak a little bit of German, but now I speak Mexican Spanish. So it's been fun learning that. But and then there's myself and another guy that do all the do the rotifers and the copepods. And then we've got people that kind of cross over and do like they bottle the product. They also help grow it. And then we've got office staff. So sorry, I'm going to sneeze. We've got customer service representatives. So there's 5 people that are always answering phones, and our phones
I will tell you, if you have never called Reef Nutrition, Reed Mariculture with a question, then you're missing out, because these are some of the most knowledgeable, friendly people I have ever run into as far as customer service goes. I mean, they are just, I don't know how you guys train them or if they've been there 100 years or what, but they know their stuff, and they do not treat you like, oh, let me look, your customer number 4782. No, they'll say, hey, Tan, how are you doing today? And I'm like, I'm good. How are you, Alexa? I know. They are just fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
If you have any type of an issue, that is even not their fault, such as shipping. We all know that. Like if you have anything sent through the Memphis hub, aka the Bermuda Triangle, oh, I know, right? Stuff goes in there that never comes out, ever. Yeah, but if you have any issue like that, honestly, these people, I mean, will jump on it and they will fix it and they will make it right. You just don't see that. And hats off to you guys for the customer service that you provide for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's, we go out of our way to make everybody happy. You want to talk about guarantees, we really stand by things even when it's not our, FedEx, we ship only FedEx really, because it's the only place that will come to our farm. And also we get really good rates, even though you guys experience what you think are high shipping costs. It'd be a lot higher if it wasn't for our negotiations. And we also pay for the handling fees. It would be incredibly higher, the shipping, trust me. So with that, and then we just replace products, no questions asked, unless somebody's repeating these things and it kind of gets suspicious. Every once in a while we'll get those people. But yeah, we take very good care of people, and we have 6 people on the tech support. Myself and a couple other guys are very active in tech support. And so we're answering questions. I help hold people's hand through the whole clownfish aquaculture thing. I actually try to talk them out of it. But for new people, they're like, my clownfish are spawning in my tank and I think they're going to hatch. I need rotifers right now. Buddy. And I'm like, no, stop. Take a deep breath. Here's what you really need to do. And so, I do my best to talk people out of it. And I'm like, look, take a deep breath, try to culture some rotifers, get good at that.
Absolutely.
You will have many attempts over the course of decades to raise these clownfish. I mean, Robert King's got a pair over 20 years old that are spawning, maybe even older than that. Over 30, yeah. So every 10, 14 days, whatever it is, they're spawning. So you have plenty of tries, plenty of chances to attempt this.
Absolutely.
So take a deep breath.
Now, I just want to touch base on
how good their customer service is. I had gotten some Rotifer Diet and some roe, and I ordered a little bag of TDOA. And that stuff lasts forever, y'all. I'm telling you. If you get the jumbo bag, your great grandchildren are going to be using that. But anyway, it had gotten misplaced in the Bermuda Triangle, the Memphis hub. And I called, and I think I talked to Alexa, and I was like, hey, I couldn't, I didn't get my package. She's like, oh my gosh, and so turn around, man, she shipped one out that afternoon. We're going to overnight it to you, you'll have it. I said, well, there's not that big a rush, no, we're going to get it to you. I said, okay. And so the little bag of TDOA that I had gotten, I was actually talking to Robert, and like the top seal, because it's got a little spout on it. This top seal, and I think it was just like a bagging issue or whatever, but like it wasn't sealed and it had dumped out in the cooler, And I had told Robert, I said, oh, I got most of it up, I scraped it up out of the cooler, and I think he had said something to you, because she was like, was everything okay in your order? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. You sure? And Chad was like, let me know when you go to order that again. I'm just going to send, when you need it again, I'm just going to send it out to you. So that's the kind of customer service that you will find at Reed Mariculture. I mean, it's top notch. These guys go above and beyond for any of your needs. I mean, it's really fabulous. Let's see. No emergency. I was trying to read some of the comments.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alexi had a baby, so she's been out of the farm, but we've added a new addition to the Reed Mariculture family. So, yeah,
that's amazing.
she's on
That's
maternity
awesome.
leave right now with her little child. Yeah, it's really, yeah. So Lynn Reed's daughter Michaela trained, and she's working with us. And Lynn and Tim's son works with us. Tim's dad, who's like in his mid-80s, still works there. Like, they are my extended family. They're part of my heart. And I, these people don't just run the business from an office. They are fully embedded in the growing, in the day-to-day operations, touching base with their employees.
I can imagine that working there, just like you said, it's just like a big family. Like, all of you are just so close. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And for these people to have been there that many years, that says something for that company and the owners.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We've got good employee longevity, and that means a lot in this industry, because, man, it is hard to train people on this stuff. I mean, as many of you know, culture in rotifers isn't just like you just, can do it suddenly. It's not like a normal human intuition that I can just culture rotifers. There are so many subtleties. It's, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but there is some kind of art form to it for many ways, and observation, and you've got to have the right observation techniques, and you've just got to have the mindset for it, and you can't be lazy, and it's just, it's interesting. So having employees that have been there for many, many, many years, and when we bring in new copepods or we start growing something else, a lot of us already have this mindset. We know the ways to do these things. We know how to invent filtration, invent the right aquarium, or invent the right tank to grow this stuff in, and to hook up all of the life support and the bells and whistles. We've already got that part of our brain is already wired to do that. And a lot of this stuff is pure invention. Like, we have just over the years, necessity is the mother of invention. And that is basically our mantra. And so we're doing things that, not too many people would even realize or even think of for phytoplankton aquaculture and zooplankton aquaculture. And so it's just, it's the mentality, the perseverance, taking, failing, right. Just failing right. Nonstop, and every failure is a step to success. Right. And that's our mind. And, just go home if you're having a crappy day, go home, sleep it off, come back and
I know you said something earlier about you're working on something new. Do you have anything that's going to be released in the next 12 months?
Not right now that I can think of. I know we were maybe considering doing macroalgae again, because there's a lot of people that are interested in Cheetomorpha, you know, that green hair algae, that people call Cheeto. Sorry,
Cheetomorpha.
mispronunciation. Cheetomorpha.
I'm a Cheeto person, so.
But anyway, or Cheeto. That's okay.
No, I don't do that. I go copepods. I got the P in there.
Kills me. Or copods. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we're thinking about maybe doing a because I used to grow Gracilaria macroalgae for the company for Reef Nutrition. We used to sell it in jars, and people would feed it to their fox face and yellow tangs, things like that. But we might start doing Gracilaria, and I really want to do another species of copepod. And so there's another cyclopoid copepod called Oithona. That's the genus, and it's got a very small nauplius, much smaller than Apocyclops, than the apex pods. And so it might have very good use in aquaculture, marine ornamentals, things like that. So if I can get those guys growing on non-viable dead phytoplankton, you know, things like that, you know, these are the things that we focus on because our customers, this is what they want. They don't want to feed the copepods live algae, so they want us to figure out how to grow the dang things without it. So that's what, you know, that's where we, you know, unlock our skills and get to work on stuff like that. So, but, you know, primarily it's been trying to just meet the demand, because ever since the pandemic, the demand has been insane. There are a lot more hobbyists than there used to be. I can't tell you how many people took their stimulus checks and bought a tank, or bought more fish, or bought more corals, or upgraded, or, you know, bought a freshwater tank or bought a saltwater tank that their freshwater keepers, those were so common. And so now it's just, you know, keeping up with the demand. And also getting into other markets. We're really looking to get into Europe with TDO, and Australia with TDO, and Canada. So, you know, we've got a guy doing TDO, and I did see a while,
quite a ways back. Will, I think he said that they import from Australia. Now, okay. I don't know if he exports or not also, but that might be something, you know, y'all could talk about. But
yeah, please reach out to me, whoever said that. We do, one thing I must mention is we do have a distributor in Australia. They're in South Australia, it's way south. And they sell our non-viable phytoplankton blends into Australia's aquaculture scene. So into shrimp aquaculture, finfish aquaculture. So we do sell the algae, the dead algae, because it's dead, and it's also contamination free. And so we don't have to, you know, there's no issues with their continental biosecurity, which they have a very strict biosecurity plan there. You know, it's like Hawaii has a very strict biosecurity plan. Anything coming in has to be, you know, vetted thoroughly and tested thoroughly. You know, this is something that's very similar to the shrimp industry. The shrimp industry went through a catastrophic disease that wiped out shrimp farms globally. It was called white spot disease. And it was just devastating. Like, entire shrimp farms lost all their shrimp within days after getting this virus. And so the shrimp industry has gone completely bonkers with biosecurity, having all the shrimp tested. And so we do those things with the phytoplankton. And so there's a lot of countries that require that. They call this a phytosanitary, you know, certificate. Phyto meaning phytoplankton. A sanitary clean, and we have to have these certificates. We send our algae off to the labs all the time to have all of these tests done, so that we can continue to prove that what we're doing at our inland facility is you know, above board, good to go, no contamination issues. Because we're an inland farm, we're 100% recirculating aquaculture. We get no input from the ocean. You know, our biosecurity plan is very strict. We don't allow people to go to a public aquarium, to go surfing, to go fishing, and come to our farm. You know, they've got none of our employees do anything like that. We don't allow dogs at the farm, because dogs can just roam around and put their nose in all kinds of stuff and spread contamination like crazy. And so we're very strict. I mean, I'm like the biosecurity Nazi, so to speak, and I do biosecurity training on employees, and I put the fear into them. Absolutely. Because contamination can bring a company to its knees. And not just in our industry, but in, you know, the people that are working with other live animals, livestock, you know, cows, cattle, you know, those kinds of things, corn, vegetables, those, you know, we have these, there's pathogen
Well, I'm telling you, you guys do a fantastic job all the way around from from your products to your presentations. You got a trade show coming up anytime soon?
Yeah, so I'm going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the end of the month. And yeah, it's a show called Reef Smart, and the person running it is Grace Romano, fantastic person. And I'm sponsoring it. I'm also doing a live workshop on setting up a copepod culture. So the VIP people the night before the show are going to get quite a treat.
But God
An
is coming to
in-person
Carolina.
copepod culture session. And then after that, we're going to do Reefapalooza in Anaheim in August in Southern California. And then we're doing MACNA in Milwaukee the second weekend of September. So that's a 3-day show. And then we're doing Reefapalooza in Dallas, Texas in October. So, and then after that, I'm taking a break. It's the holidays. I'm done. Boom.
Awesome.
And then I'll be back in Florida in February to start it all over again.
That's
I do about
amazing.
I do about a trade
Your
show a month,
setups,
so it's pretty
I've
wild.
seen your lives and tons of pictures and stuff. Your setup is just absolutely fabulous. You do a wonderful, you and Hillary both do a fantastic job, because I mean, she's so knowledgeable, and I love her page. I really do. Waterlogged, yes, absolutely wonderful.
Water.
Yes.
Yep.
If you haven't, be sure and
Check it out, everybody.
check out Reed Mariculture. Check out all their vast amount of products. They go above and beyond, not just with their products, but with their customer service. Chad is always happy to message someone. Will, I think it was you. Please get in touch with Chad about the import export to Australia. So that would be fabulous.
Absolutely. Yeah, somebody asked where we're at in Florida. So I'll be in Lakeland in February, and then in April we're in Orlando, the Orlando area. We're close. It's close to Disney. It's not exactly Orlando. So, and that's a show to attend. If anybody here is listening that lives in Florida or near Florida, April Reefapalooza or in Orlando is phenomenal. They pulled in almost 4,000 people this year. And before the pandemic, they were getting over 5,000 people at this show. It is phenomenal. And so if you want to, that trade show experience, Reefapalooza is an excellent trade show. If you want a trade show with a heavy education aspect to it, MACNA is the one to attend. They have most incredible educational seminars. There's clubs that get together and meet up at this event. It's super education heavy. And all of the vendors bring their A game. It's really neat. And they travel from different states.
Oh, man, that's
they're
awesome.
in a different state every year.
Thank you, Chad
So
Walton,
check them
for
out.
dropping the links for Reef Nutrition and Reed Mariculture. And just so people know, that is basically the same company, correct? Reef Nutrition, Reed Mariculture.
Right. So Reed Mariculture is the name of our company, Reed Mariculture
Gotcha.
Incorporated, and Reef Nutrition is one of our product lines. And I'm essentially in charge of a lot of the things that happen with Reef Nutrition, but I'm also very much immersed in the aquaculture side with Reed Mariculture. And so I encourage everybody to visit both sides. Thank you for, thanks, Chad, for including the
thank
URLs.
you so much for spending some time with us. I've kept you an hour now. I'm sorry. Oh, there you go.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm on the clock. I'm having a blast. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm
absolutely.
sure we can do this again someday.
I love to chat with you. Your knowledge is just blows my mind. You know how you, of course, you've been immersed in this for so many years. 30 years.
30 years, yeah. I've been a hobbyist for even longer. I got into the saltwater aquarium hobby in 1988. Like when the lighting was terrible, you couldn't keep corals alive to save your soul unless you had a metal halide lamp. The hang on the back filters were the hottest thing ever. And and the food options were like Tetra Flakes.
Oh my gosh. That was back in the day, wasn't it?
Brine shrimp.
And look how far we've come.
Yeah. And I killed a lot of fish. Yeah. Man, I made so many mistakes. It's amazing. I even am still doing this, but, I'm very fortunate to turn my hobby into a career. A lot of people, it ruins the hobby for them when it becomes their career, but it hasn't ruined it for me. I just love this stuff. So, and we all kind of coalesce, all of us hobbyists, and we, for whatever wiring we have in our brains, we're all linked in this way. So it's really cool. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
right
much
on,
for joining us. I want to wish you an early happy birthday. Please enjoy the day tomorrow. You'll probably be
Yep.
up to your elbows in phytoplankton, but hey, that's all right. You enjoy it. I do want to tell everyone that we do have we're trying to get to 2K by August 1st. We've been challenged. We've had Affordable Frags, Quantum, Dinkins Aquatics, a few K&P Aquaculture. We've had some of the people step up and offer some items if we can get to 2K by August 1st. So, Chad, I ask you one thing. Hit that friends list and invite. Oh, you can. Sure.
Absolutely. And can I donate a prize or something to motivate? Okay, we'll get in touch. I will donate a $200 gift card that anybody can use in our online shop.
Oh,
So $200. You can get a lot of product with that. So there you go. So yeah, you can post that, promote it, whatever, and I'll send you a image of a $200 gift card. Let's get that up there. Let's get that going. Love you, Tanya. It's there are so many groups out there, but you're one of the ones that really is at the top of my list, and I really like to follow you. And it's because you've got there's such a great group here, and a lot of them are part of Robert's group as well, so there's some overlap there. But man, these people are always available. They're always around for these things, and it's just phenomenal. They're like groupies, so to speak. But my hats off to you and everybody else, and it's really it really warms my heart to see groups like this and the same people coming back and just and feeding it.
That's amazing.
Right, awesome.
We'll absolutely include. You send me images, and we will include it in the sponsor ad. We're trying so hard to get to 2K by August 1st, and you've upped it with a $200 gift card. Man, thank you so very much. That is amazing. I love it. Thank you. I want to thank all you guys for joining in. If you left a few minutes early, you missed it. That's all I got to say is you missed it. I will post after a while. We're doing the sticker giveaway. You sent me stickers, remember? We are doing the sticker pack giveaway. I will post a video after this one ends, where I spun the wheel and the number that won. So I'll be sending out another sticker package giveaway. Thank you, Chad, for everything.
Nice. Yep, Diane. Right on.
Thank you. You have a good night, buddy.
All right, bye-bye, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Guys, if you missed it, you missed it. He's offered up a $200 gift certificate to Reed Mariculture. If you missed it, you missed it. I'm telling you, they are an absolute top-notch company. If you haven't checked it out, please do. Please go visit them. If nothing else, I know how kind you people are and how good you are. Absolutely send that guy a private message and say thank you. Thank you for your donation. Hats off. He did not have to do that, but absolutely we greatly appreciate it. Guys, watch for the video and also watch for the drop at high noon tomorrow. I will give you a little hint about next week's guest. It's gonna rock your aquarium. See if you know who it is. You guys take care. Have you a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining me and joining Chad. It was a great live. So much information. If you missed it, go back and watch it again. Well worth watching. Take care. Have you a wonderful evening. I will drop the video for the sticker pack winner in just a little bit. And I will drop the promo for next week's ad at high noon tomorrow. Take care, guys. And like I said, the little hint is it's going to rock your aquarium. Have you a good one. Take care. Love you guys.